Welcome, Emily, to the Rock Your Body Spotlight and Fearless Rebel Radio. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about who you are, where you live, what you do?
So my name's Emily. I um, grew up in Michigan originally, um, in a kind of small town, and now I live in New Hampshire. We just recently moved here with my fiance. Um, I am a physician. I work in the emergency room, which is kind of a high stress kind of environment. Um, I pretty much have grown up in like a normal kind of run of the mill family with great parents and a twin brother.
Oh, cool. I actually don't think I knew that about you. That's cool.
We're very different and very the same, but I love him. He's great. He still lives in Michigan. I'm expecting a baby. Woohoo. So
That's
that'll be
awesome.
the first grandchild. But um, the reason why I connected with Summer is because I have had body image issues and went through a clinical actual eating disorder when I was in college and kind of started in high school. Um, and so I had gone through all the, clinical psychology and had a lot of appointments with many experts in eating disorders, and nothing really seemed to kind of get me through. I just kept like reverting back and not being happy, and thought that everything was like about like just trying to fix everything, or either, I guess cover up what I was actually feeling. And I never really got down to the root of it. I did kind of have a revelation when I was around 23, 24. I was newly engaged to my ex-husband, and he supported me with this, and I went through a yoga kind of therapy, specifically for eating disorders, which kind of put I guess, kind of brought the whole treatment to, trying to say, I don't know how to say this, brought treatment in a way that I could relate to it more. And there were a lot of people there, so I understood that I was not alone,
Okay,
which
so it's
was
more resonant with you.
right.
Hmm.
So that got me through the actual eating disorder, the full blown eating disorder, but I still had a lot of disordered feelings and body image negativity and a lot of negative self talk. So I started listening to podcasts, and Summer actually happened to be a guest on one of the podcasts I was listening to, and it interested me, and I kind of liked her vibe and the way she was kind of no bullshit. Because traditional counseling just didn't agree with me. I was not the type of person that's like, how do you feel? Like, we're going to fix this. It'll be okay. Like, I wanted, like, no, this is what's going on, like, kind of challenging me. Because I feel like a lot of times, especially dealing with an eating disorder, you have the whole, like, you can hide anything, you can make things up, it's very secretive. So
Right.
to bust out of that was awesome. And that's kind of what your program helped me do.
Yeah. So like what let's go back to how you were feeling before that. I mean, if you want to just tell people a little bit about what your frustrations were with the way that you felt about yourself, or when you looked in the mirror, like how did you feel about your body?
I just felt like it was a constant judgment. Like I was always letting myself down, or like not meeting a bar. Like I was always the perfectionist, but I didn't know how to actually be happy. I felt like I had no identity. Like everything was an identity with, me being a doctor, or me being thin, or, you know, I never really had like the Emily, identity that I would let out to anybody else. Like deep down inside, I knew something was there, but I feel like I like kept it locked up because I was afraid. And so I always identified myself with some kind of physical or, something about me and not necessarily like me.
Yeah, it's almost like a shield, like I know Brene Brown talks about perfectionism being a shield and not being, like your armor. And I mean, what was it like to carry that around or to not really be who you thought you knew you were at your core, or maybe you didn't know who you were, but you needed to get to know who you were.
Well, it's a huge weight on your shoulders. You never feel happy. You just feel, I kind of felt like I was manic sometimes and kind of depressed because it was either like I had like, I feel like a lot of times self doubt and like having so much negativity around yourself either motivates you or it makes you really depressed. And the motivation I think was a negative motivation. So
Yeah.
um, it was just so much stress to carry around. Like, just couldn't really enjoy things truly. Was just always trying to like prove something to myself, and I just couldn't like sit and just be there, you know.
Yeah. What wasn't enjoyable for you? What were some of the things that just were not what they are now, I guess would be a good way of to ask that.
Um, Pretty much most relationships. Um, I feel like a lot of my female relationships were not so great because I didn't really let anybody see me, you know? So everything was kind of a facade. There was like a kind of a, I guess you could say an armor or like a barrier between that. And because I was always comparing or like, I need to do this or I need to say this or I need to be this. We've talked about me and my beast. But it definitely was something that made me not feel fulfilled with any kind of female relationship. So I think I just threw myself into either family because I knew that they wouldn't, I guess, judge me, and then threw myself into like male like relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about your release the beast. So people actually know what that means. But what made you decide to want to change? Like you'd gone through the recovery, so you'd done the eating disorder recovery. What made you decide to change and do this?
I just felt like I was like missing out on life. I mean, you only live once. I'm so young and I have so much. I guess I've had so much good in my life, and I feel like I haven't really appreciated it because I've been stuck in this like kind of hole,
Yeah.
and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I felt like I was two different people, and like there was the person that I wanted to be, like kind of like standing out in the distance, like come on, like why can't you get over this? And then like me fighting back with pulling. It was it's like the good and evil, you
Well,
know.
yeah, and it totally is, right? That's how well, not necessarily using like those words, but it is. Like we all have this kind of, like I call it your doppelganger, like your voice of fear, self-doubt, perfectionism. And it's like, which one are we, and then your authentic self, like which one are you actually taking direction from?
Right.
Yeah.
Eventually, I just think I kind of kept pushing and pushing and pushing and just had to make that decision and didn't realize it would be so simple to just, it's not simple, but simple to just kind of say, what am I doing? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, what I really get from you is that you recognized you had such a great life, but you weren't really living in it and you weren't really able to appreciate it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always felt like I had all the tools. Like, you could read and books and do all this and know everything right to do. But then you're like, why can't I just, enact it into my life? And then it just finally, I think, to keep asking those questions and like getting that stimulation and hearing other people, go through it and actually writing it down and not just saying, oh, it's, it's fine. I got this under control, kind of opens up a lot of, I guess, I don't know the word for it.
It opens it. Well, it's the difference between like knowing and doing, or thinking like that's a good idea and actually doing things to make the changes.
Right, right.
Yeah. So what were some of the stepping stones that helped you most along the way?
As far as like rock your body goes,
Yeah. Yeah. Just in our time together.
um, well, I think a lot of it, I think, kind of, I like your style of asking the question, like leaving it kind of open ended, and saying like, when any of us on the calls came up with, I'm dealing with this right now. It wasn't like you had a solution. You almost kind of let us figure out our own solutions, which is awesome because I feel like it's coming from us and it's not like you saying, you need to do this, this way, and this is what worked for me, because it might not, and I think it makes things go a little deeper.
Yeah. And so do you, I mean, I remember so many moments with you, that we did some cool stuff together in the calls. Like Backstreet Boys comes to mind. Um, Shaking your hair out is another one. Which they're all kind of metaphors for just you, like really getting in touch with who you are at your core. Maybe pick one of those. Did you feel like it was like a highlight for you, or you feel like was one that really kind of created this shift in you and allowed you to do something different that you hadn't done before?
Well, I definitely think that the Backstreet Boys, make a short or long story short, Summer made me or suggested that I go back to a time where I was super happy with no reservations about my body image, or where I, just enjoyed myself. And I went back to like middle school dances where we just, rocked out to Backstreet Boys and made up dances and didn't care. And like, didn't have all these social pressures or negativity or judgment or comparison. And it was just so freeing. And we danced together on the phone.
We did. We were like doing the Backstreet Boys. Yeah.
So that was wonderful. And then on a more intense call, when we went into that visualization, where I kind of went into my darkest area, and then kind of pulled myself out of it. And, it was just very inspiring and just nothing I've ever done before. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. What shifted for you after that, or what did you learn coming out of that?
Well, I think I had a lot of issues with kind of being just like middle ground. And we've talked about this where I didn't really think that I could be completely happy. And I had a lot of fear around that. Like if I was completely happy, like then I could fall a lot farther and get let down a lot more. Um, and you kind of challenge that. And I think with that visualization, it really brought me to the point where I'm like, well, I can be happy. And you know what? What's the worst that can happen if I get let down? I get let down. I get up, get back on, and not being happy is worse than not having that high. And I think that kind of let me realize that because I didn't have that feeling before.
Yeah. And then what changed for you afterwards?
I think that I just let myself, I didn't, I let myself get to that happiness point. I let myself laugh uncontrollably, let go, be myself. And I feel like the more I do that, the more addictive it becomes, and the better, and the more authentic I am to myself.
Yeah, and that was really the metaphor for release the beast. Was you just like letting go, like dropping the armor, and letting your true self show up in social situations and your relationships, and just to be able to truly be in the moment instead of so tied to pretending to be something that you think other people want.
Right. And
Yeah.
it kind of made me realize, or kind of separated the whole me seeing other people in certain ways. Like, if I can explain this. So when I'd be in social settings, like the who I thought was the cutest girl, or the, like the most poised or put together, um, in the past, was the person that I aspired to be. But then now I'm like, I want to be the fun one. I want to be the one that's laughing and enjoying myself and not caring about like stupid stuff that doesn't even matter. So my mindset has just changed completely. And so I think that reflects on myself too, because then I don't feel like I have to be. I mean, I still have elements of social anxiety that I still have to work on, but like at the same time, so does everybody else.
Yeah.
But I think it changed my mindset. And so I don't, you know, I guess make my ideal person has changed in my
Yeah.
mind. And it's not about body image, it's more about the inner me versus the outer me.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. So what's different for you now? I mean, if you look at where you were maybe, a few months ago versus, who you are today and how you're living your life today, what's changed?
I think I do more for myself, um, to kind of nourish my soul versus doing what I think is right, like for society or what I'm supposed to be doing. Like some days I used to have like a lot of guilt around having like a personal day essentially,
Yeah.
and just like lazing around or like watching a marathon of TV shows. But now I'm like, you know what? If that's what I want to do and that's what I need today, I'm going to do it. So I think it has just given me, a lot more happiness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you seem so much you do seem so much happier, like just more calm and relaxed. Like there was always more. I don't want to say you were tense, but yeah, you I don't know. It is like the weight has been lifted. That's what I
Hmm.
see. What does that feel like?
It feels pretty amazing. I feel like I am finally living the life that I want to live, and that I have a lot of relationships that are kind of improving because of it, and like I'm really, I don't think I'm 100% fulfilled yet, but I think that I'm feeling like I can get there, and not that anybody is ever 100%, but that I actually am allowing myself to instead of just hiding. So,
Yeah, so talk to me. What's different about your relationships now?
I feel like they're more real, and authentic, and even though there may be more good and bad, I think that there is truth to them. So it's not just the fake, like, oh my gosh, we're friends, like hanging out. I've kept the friendships that I want to keep, and I have gotten rid of ones that I don't, not that they weren't good in the past, but just they're not serving me anymore. And I think that being, I get true to myself has made me a better person, and the relationships are not like, I feel like they're not as, sorry. I feel like it's not pressure to have like, oh, I need so many friends. I need to do this. I need to be doing this. I'm making myself better because I have people surrounding me that I want to be with, and they're like genuinely great people.
That's so cool. That's so good. And I know you were on a trip recently. What was different about that trip for you? I mean, what was that experience like compared to maybe what trips have been like in the past for you?
So, we went to Europe, which was amazing, and we did a bike trip in Scotland,
Oh,
and there were a
cool.
lot of challenging experiences because it's Scotland and there's a lot of hills. But um, I think I allowed myself to really truly enjoy the moment and not worry about yesterday and the future. And I mean, I had my moments, but I definitely felt like I got the most out of the vacation, and I did not. I wasn't like shoulding, you know. I was just like Brene Brown says, the shoulds. I was doing what I wanted and what I felt, and I think that made me appreciate it so much more.
Yeah, I know ultimately like you wanted to just, you wanted to be happier, you wanted to enjoy life more. Do you feel like do you feel like that you're getting those experiences more now?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, one more question, I guess I have two more questions, but when you look at yourself in the mirror now, what do you think?
I mean, I still have some underlying judgment sometimes,
Of
because
course.
everybody has their good and bad days. We've talked about that, but um, I definitely have a lot of moments where I'm like, you know what? This is an amazing, like, I am amazing. And I don't look at myself like as a body. I look at myself as a whole person now. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. And so what's it been like to get all of this baggage off?
It's a huge weight lifting off your shoulders. I mean, it's just day to day stuff that normally would be so difficult, is so much easier. There's a lot of, um, I guess just not as stressful. It was just I can't even explain in words how much stress it is to just carry around like this. Like, it's like you're pulling like 50 pounds of weight all the time. Like, oh, and you just have a headache, and I feel like your body almost like manifests like the stress as like almost like an illness. And I don't feel like that. I have so much more energy now, and um,
Yeah.
passion, I guess. So,
Passion. Cool. That's so good. That's
yeah.
amazing. Well, what's one piece of advice you have for people listening today?
I think the best advice that I have is to challenge yourself, um, and to dive deep, whether you're really fearful or not, just to push through that fear. Because the more you push through it, I think the farther you go. And that not everything changes immediately. It takes time, but it's 100% worth it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thank you so much for that. I mean, I've seen you come such a long way, and you were always willing to go all in, even when I wanted to just do weird things with you, which clearly were memorable and worked. So that's really good. Because sometimes you just don't know. Backstreet Boys may not resonate with everybody, which is why you had to come up with that one. But yeah, no, I've just loved seeing you along the way, and I've loved seeing the changes that you've made and being able to truly enjoy life, and just getting emails from you, and updates just saying that you were like you went away and the trip was different, or you've moved and like things are just different for you. I just think that you're such an inspiration because having had an eating disorder in the past, like that's pretty heavy stuff. And so looking at how far you've come in your life and doing this to really get to know who you are, it's a beautiful thing. So you have so much to be proud of. So I'm just celebrating over here with you because I just think you're awesome.
Oh,
And yeah, thank you for sharing this today.
well, you are so sweet, and I love you for all of this. So,
I love you, girl. I love you. And I know this is just goodbye for this recording, but rock on, Emily.